Hey guys, what's going on? Legionuta here playing more RuneScape Dragonwilds. Welcome to our daily gaming XP grind, episode number 26. So, today, I'm going to be doing something a little bit unusual, but we really didn't get to do a lot of behind the scenes as we've got some things going on and some people not very well. So, I had to obviously make sure I was there for those people as I thought that that was the right thing to do. So, hopefully they get better and we are going to be working on woodcutting in this episode. So it's not really something that we usually would do in one of these videos, but obviously it is still skill grinding, so I think it's important that we still do it. And we obviously need a lot more ash logs so we can create a lot more ash planks. So it's still essential in our process and our progression through the game. But I guess since right before I start talking about what I'm going to talk about, I would actually like to say, if you have not already, please go ahead and subscribe and sort of support our channel. So we would greatly appreciate that. And anyways, let's jump right in. So what we're going to be talking about today is actually, I think it's like a blog that RuneScape Dragonwilds sort of releases. And what they were recently talking about was different things that may or may not come to the game. So they did sort of a Q&A, and I thought it was actually really cool. They talked about potential pets that might come to the game, and I guess they've already been discussing this. So we won't probably see it anytime soon, but I'm glad it's still in the discussion. And they were talking about potentially chinchompas and maybe even throwable chinchompas, which I don't necessarily know that would really work. Because unless your base is getting raided by a warband, I'm not really quite sure a time when you've got a lot of creatures attacking you at once, but it's obviously very early in early access. So it's hard to say what might come to the game and how that could be a beneficial thing or useful. I can't believe our axe broke, so we're going to have to go fix that really quick, which will not take that long. But there were lots of other things they talked about, potentially mounts coming to the game, and they said that Fell Hollow, they couldn't give away too much because it would spoil way too much, but they did say that essentially Fell Hollow itself is going to basically double the size of the game. So I think that's actually extremely cool, and I'm really looking forward to it. So essentially what we have here, you can expect double that with this next update coming in December. Not sure about a date. They really haven't said anything about that. They did talk about range a little bit. They talked about it. They did say, because I guess a lot of comments they were getting was saying that magic was underwhelming. And I can sort of understand why people were coming from a standpoint about that. But at the same time, their response was that it's early access. We're level 50 and there's so much room to add things into the game, and as they release things they can sort of work with it and tweak it around so that way the players are more happy and everyone wins overall. So all these things are going to take time, but as they release things into the game, overall they can add and they can sort of change them around a little bit to make them sort of more to what was that? That was kind of crazy what I just said there. I don't even know what that word was, but anyways, so ultimately, they were saying that they're going to be constantly making changes to the game so that way players can enjoy content, and they're going to be listening to our feedback heavily. They've got archives of our feedback on Discord of things we've said, and that's why they do so many polls so that way we can see how we're feeling about the game and then make adjustments. So quite happy about that they're listening to the players so much, because I find constantly games that really don't listen to the players enough, and then we're not really getting the experience we want because they're not really listening. So I think that's quite beneficial. They did say range is going to be pretty much the same. They said that ultimately we all have to understand that it's still in early access. So although it seems like we haven't really been given that much, they're still trying to give us the ability to use these things, but while also leaving room for upgrades and improvements, which I actually have to agree with, because I have mentioned it before in other videos I've done, where I felt as though we should be able to use blood runes and water runes and different things like that, earth runes, earth spells, and they were like basically saying that they're not done. They're just getting started. It's early access. We're level 50. That's the max. So they were like, all the gaps between that are going to fill to these next levels basically will have these things that we're wondering where they're at. And that sort of makes sense. It gives us things to look forward to as we play the game. and this is like a long-term project, so they really essentially can't give us everything right out off the bat. So I don't know, I'm really excited. I mean, when you hear them talk, they seem very invested into the project itself, and I think that's very important. They said they've got a total of 30 developers who actually touch sort of the game and the content and things like that, but they did say that they sort of spend time on projects, and they're also not going to be charging us for expansions. What they had said was basically if the project takes more than 6 months, whatever the update is, then they might consider having to charge us. But currently, they have no plans to charge us for upgrades to the game. So that's actually quite amazing if you think about it. And even to say that they spend 6 months on a project and they're not going to charge us more for it, that's a long time to spend on sort of updates and things like that and then not charge the players. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you, even if they went back on saying that, I wouldn't even care. I think one of the bigger things for me is ultimately not doing a wipe, because one, I've got so much XP, and I think a lot of people are still playing the game. So if you erase everything we've done and then we essentially have to go back and get it again, I think that would really be a situation where you might have to say, do I really want to go and reinvest my time? I think the only way it really wouldn't be a problem is if the XP to 99 was, not ridiculous. Because at this current state, I feel like it's going to be around 1.2 million to get to level 99. I could be completely off. I'm not sure. But I feel like if it was maybe 500,000 XP, then it would definitely be something to revisit and say, okay, we can redo everything again. I would be sad about losing all my buildings that I put just ridiculous amounts of time into. I think that would hurt a lot too. And I'm sure a lot of people out here who play this game have put an immense amount of time, just a ridiculous, trying to build the coolest base or potentially different things in a game, and it's sort of home. And I definitely think that ultimately that's what they were shooting for when they did all this, is that you sort of build your own home in Ashenfall. And I think a lot of people have done that, and if you were to just sort of take it all away, I think it would definitely definitely make a lot of people sort of I don't know the word, just sort of rethink things, because even though it's early access, they've said they're trying not to do that, but I know people still have invested quite a bit of time, and it would be very unfortunate. But I'm excited about so much coming to the game, and time is flying, so even though it seems like it's forever away, and even when you're younger, if you're younger, it seems like time goes by really slow, but then when you get older, it just sort of speeds up. So um, it'll be here before we know it, and we'll all be enjoying all these great things that are going to be coming to this game. So we're actually fortunate that they've even decided to make this project. So I think there's a lot of ways you can look at it. But anyway, so we're just working on woodcutting here. Very boring, but all in its own right. I think it's not the most boring. It's okay. We need a lot of ash logs anyway for our construction, so lots of work to do. But I wish we had more sort of backlog. But as I stated, someone's unwell that I know, and I wanted to make sure that I made an effort to sort of show up for them, as that's important. I think that when you've got people in your life who matter to you, that you show up. I think ultimately, at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. And um, yeah, so we are going to continue to woodcut for a little bit here, and then probably drop some of these inside the sawmills. It's interesting, so interesting. Um, I'm trying to think in my head about prayer. Right, prayer's not coming out for quite some time, but in regards to that, I'm trying to think in my head what that's going to look like, because it's so interesting. How much XP are you going to get from burying a bone? And then, sort of, are there going to be other ways you can level up prayer? Because if you think about it, I mean, they can't give you a ridiculous amount of XP for burying one bone. It's just not realistic. So, and now that they've come out with skills and sort of had to reframe them in the regard of cooking and as well as woodcutting with splinter. So you might have to ask yourself, overall, like, what's that going to look like? And now that they know not to give too much XP, so I don't think they'll make that mistake again. But obviously, I mean, what are we talking here to get to level 99 prayer? Like, are we talking potentially 1,000 bones, 5,000 bones? I've got no idea what that's going to look like, but I think 1,000 bones. I mean, who knows, really, right? But hopefully, it's not ridiculously unrealistic because you've still got to go collect those bones. Um, but we don't really know what other expansions in the game are going to look like and sort of ways to potentially level prayer. So, agility is going to be very interesting. Farming, and like I've stated before, I've got hopped on a little bit for it, but holding on to my bird's nests. To be quite honest, I have no reason to open up my bird's nests. I don't need anything inside of them. I mean, feathers, and then they give you coarse animal fur. And it's like, I really don't need all that coarse animal fur, but I think the biggest thing of that is seeds are most likely going to be coming from bird's nest. So if you use all your bird's nest now for absolutely no reason at all, then you're most likely going to have to gather those again to get seeds. It just makes sense. How else would they put seeds into the game? Every single creature's going to drop them. It just doesn't make sense. The only thing that actually makes sense is Garu packs, Goblin packs, and bird's nests. So I think it's really important to hang on to them. I'm not sure what it's going to look like, but in December, we're going to find out. And then if I was wrong, I was wrong. And if I was right, I'm going to have a lot of seeds, which should definitely propel and help me level up my farming and sort of experience that in a very full way. Because I'm not sure of everything we're going to be able to grow, but I imagine that they're going to have quite a bit of things. Another thing I was thinking about earlier on my drive into town before work was actually how farming is going to help me level up my cooking, because it's one of the things that is just so difficult to level up. I won't have any meat, but I will have I can get dirty water rather fast, and then whatever I manage to farm for secondaries, so it'll be definitely beneficial in the cooking skill. So I don't know, lots to look forward to, and we're just really excited about all the cool things that are going to be coming to the game, and I'm sure all of you are too. But the developer log, just to sort of jump back on that really quick, I don't want to totally skip over that. I think if you haven't had an opportunity to listen to it, it's about an hour long, and I think there's a lot of cool stuff, and you can see the passion that these creators have in the game and what they want to still bring for us. So I think it's definitely worth a look. But ultimately, uh, it will be here sooner than you think. So I know it's a little bit of a struggle to wait, but like I stated, it's going to be so cool to see Fell Hollow come to life, and I'm sure there's going to be little glitches here, and nothing's going to be quite perfect, but then they can work on that and adjust it for us. But I think that ultimately I mean, I would hope it comes before Christmas. That way, just sort of, it's like a little gift to everybody, but at the same time, I think it's going to make people jump back on the game and spend hours and hours playing. And if they hit their target with Fell Hollow, I really think that people have sort of a look into the future of what the rest of the game could potentially be. They've said a lot of really cool things in the roadmaps, so I think us being able to see them bring some more to life will definitely intrigue a lot of people and sort of add a different element of belief in what they've said and then what they can actually do and provide. So quite exciting. I rather enjoyed listening to it. And then they talked about weapon level requirements, potentially how that might become a part of the game. And I think that's actually really important. They said that the reason that they let us use everything right now is because essentially they wanted to show us that they could actually make functioning, cool weapons in the game of our most favorite different thing, like items, like weapons that we're going to fight with. And they just wanted to show us that they know how to do it, so we could enjoy it now, and then sort of as the game progresses, obviously our levels are going to progress, so then we'll get those items back, but they're going to sort of gauge them to the certain levels, So they'll actually do more XP and they'll be more powerful, I'm assuming. So I think that's actually quite cool. But once we fill up this last load, I think that's pretty much going to be it for this video. I will spend a little bit of time on my base. I obviously like to keep these videos within a certain time length. And yeah, so we've got quite a bit to do here. I don't really want to have to kill this guy, but I'm pretty sure he's going to get aggroed because I'm right near him. So let's see what happens. Well, I killed him anyway by accident. So much wood cutting, and hopefully we manage to get a decent amount of XP from all of it. But we already know that wood cutting takes a little bit of time, so I'm not really expecting a huge jump in our wood cutting XP. So let's see if this is ready. We got another 11, probably a couple of seconds here. So I guess we'll chop a little bit more, and then we'll use that ability on some of the logs, and then go from there. But hopefully you guys are doing cool things in RuneScape Dragonwilds. Hopefully you're enjoying your time in the game, as I'm sure you are. And it's just quite exciting. All the cool things to look forward to. They really hit the mark with this game, to be quite honest. And it couldn't really have been at a better time if you think about it. I'm glad that they decided to do it, because obviously a lot of people still played RuneScape, but I think this really keeps RuneScape alive. And if they hadn't have done it, you don't want RuneScape to become a thing of the past. I feel like it's a very important, the game itself. So anyways, we're going to drop all these in here, and this actually sort of worked out perfect because it looks like it's turning into nighttime. So now all I really have to do is essentially go on my bed, and then when I wake up, everything will be done. So we sort of got ourselves ready. The one thing I will say is I really don't think I'm going to be doing construction again anytime soon. And the reason I say that is because there's so many skills that I've already, I mean, not a ridiculous amount, but a lot of my skills have already hit my mark. So I've got to be careful, because then essentially all I'm going to have are certain skills that take an incredibly amount of time to level up. And then what happens is I've got nothing to make, nothing to sort of spend time. I mean, I can't simply have you guys watch me woodcut every single episode. So I think it's important to remember to try to keep a variety still there. So we've got interesting things to show you guys between now and December. So we will go ahead and use the rest of these here. I wanted to save a little bit of ash logs because obviously we have to rebuild the platform out there, and it's no fun having to run around and grab all the ash planks off the ash logs off the ground, because you're constantly picking up ash planks as you go. So we're going to drop these in here. I think I've got a bunch of other ash logs lying around somewhere too, so that will help a lot with that. We're going to go ahead and do an XP update, and then we are probably going to call it for the day. But we really hope you guys enjoyed watching the video if you made it this far, and still really enjoying RuneScape Dragonwilds. Actually, while I was woodcutting that whole time, I don't think I even popped any more woodcutting potions, so I sort of lost out on some XP. It's not really the end of the world though, so it's fine. We've got hours and hours and days to still play this game and sort of get what we want to get. So here we go. Let's go ahead and go into our XP update. 255,000 attack XP. Haven't really touched that. Woodcutting 790,000. So we are 210,000 XP away from our goal on that. Construction 1,701,000. Rune crafting 392,000. Magic 30,434. Mining 4,021,000. Artisan 3,055,000, and cooking 117,000. So we've obviously got lots of work to do in the game, and we're going to keep working at it and progressing and bringing you guys content. And I think that once the December update comes, I think the content's going to get a lot more interesting, as right now we're sort of limited with what we can show you. And I think farming is going to add a very interesting element into the game. So anyway, guys, we really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And as always, until next time, Legion Uta out.